All right, good morning. It's now 14 minutes after 10 a.m. in St. Lucia and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. Welcome to another beautiful Monday right here on 88.5 Super FM. And of course, like Erlen always says, between the time of 10 a.m. and 11 a.m., it's time for Casualty 911. Good morning to my guest, Miss Louisa. Good morning to you.
Okay, Robert, so apparently you trying to figure out the name, whether to call me by my first name or my last name.
Yeah, I was trying to remember the last name, but I don't think I ever knew the last name. So
Okay, so the last name is Louisa Wilson.
oh,
Wilson, that's my
Miss
surname.
okay, Miss Wilson.
You can call me Louisa.
All right.
A lot of people
Louisa.
don't know me by my first name.
Oh, so most persons just know you as Louisa.
No, Miss Wilson in
Miss
the suffrage
Wilson.
community.
Okay, Miss Wilson. Well, let's say Miss Wilson, so everyone knows who they're listening to. So, welcome. How was your weekend? I hope you had a great weekend.
Kind of. A little bit tiring, you know already. Ladies always have to do endless house chores over the weekend and not much time for fun and partying like some
Not
of
just
us.
not just ladies, men like
Men too?
people on a whole have a lot to do over the weekend. So
That's
it's
true.
it's not just ladies.
Really?
Ladies just like to take the spotlight. They always
Really?
yeah. They always feel like they're doing the most, but that's for another topic maybe.
That's definitely for another topic. For International Women's Day.
International, yeah, and probably International Men's Day as well.
Is there an International Men's Day?
Yes, that's
Really?
I think that's it's either the 20th of November. I think it's the 20th. Yeah, so that's coming up. Yeah, that's coming up shortly. Yes, International Men's Day. Yeah,
Wonderful.
you see, most persons don't even know that because they don't care about International Men's Day.
It's
Let me
not that they
see.
don't care. A lot of us are very concerned about our male
What?
counterparts.
Okay. What date is International Women's Day?
March 8th.
You see. So what date is International Men's Day?
I do not have a clue. You
You
just said it.
you did not even know there was an International Men's Day. So.
Of course I did. I just couldn't remember the date.
All right, so it's Saturday, November 19th. So it's just a few days from now, the
Yeah.
19th. So 12 days from now, I think. Yes. All right. So, Miss Wilson, what are we talking about today?
So this morning we're talking about diabetes, and November 14th is Diabetes Awareness Day. And for the month of November, we want to focus on diabetes. I know many of us have had family members, friends, colleagues with diabetes. And some of us, we see the signs of diabetes and we choose to ignore it. So this month we want to create a lot of awareness as it relates to diabetes, because I think one of the things we're tired of seeing, persons losing their leg, their toes, and overall getting blind, some persons. So we want to keep our community healthy. We want to make sure that all these chronic diseases are under control, and that is our aim, that is our goal, especially in the health sector.
Okay.
Isn't that right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of persons have the perception that it's only older people that can get diabetes. So, from what age would you say that persons have to start being mindful about diabetes?
Well, some people, there are different types of diabetes. Some children do develop type 1 diabetes at a very early age. It all depends on your family history and so on. That's what you call juvenile diabetes, or they normally
Okay.
get type 1 diabetes, where you have to be so dependent on insulin. So it all depends. It might not be so very common in our community, but there are quite a few children with diabetes, and it is so difficult because at a very early age, as long as you're diagnosed with diabetes, that means you have to be so conscious of what you eat, what you drink, how you live your life. So it can be very, very, very detrimental to young persons, and many of the things that we might take for granted, these are the things that they really have to be mindful of. So it's not only older persons, but young people do develop diabetes, and that's one of the things we want persons to be mindful of.
Okay, so are you saying that since it is genetic, persons can be born with diabetes?
Not necessarily born with diabetes. One of the things is the types of diabetes is gestational diabetes, where the woman, when she becomes pregnant, she develops diabetes.
Oh wow.
And sometimes when the children are born overweight, like 9 pounds and over, they're prone to diabetes and so on. So a lot of the things, there are a lot of dynamics to it. So you have to be so very mindful of what is really happening. That is why when our children are born, they go through such, different tests, especially as women get pregnant. That's why they encourage them to come to the clinics so
Often.
they can detect these things very early.
Okay, so let's take for instance, you say a pregnant woman can get diabetes while she's pregnant. Well, yeah. Um, is it would it be based on her lifestyle, or is it just something that happens? So before she gets pregnant, is there something that contributes to that diabetes that she gets when she becomes pregnant?
So, yes. So the gestational diabetes develops in pregnant women who have never had diabetes before. And that's one of the things we have to be mindful of. And sometimes it goes away after the baby is born. So after the baby is born, you no longer are at risk, for diabetes. And sometimes when the baby, like I said, the baby is born obese, like overweight, like 9 pounds and up, these children tend to develop type 2 diabetes later on in life. And people need to be mindful of all of these things. Sometimes the children are born 8 pounds, 9 pounds, and these are the kind of things that we have to be mindful of. Another thing we have to be mindful of is pre-diabetes. Sometimes, so let me just explain. There are
Yes,
three types of
yes,
diabetes:
please.
type 1, type 2, and gestational diabetes. We just spoke about gestational diabetes, where a pregnant woman who has never had diabetes, develop diabetes during pregnancy.
Okay.
And type 2 diabetes is when your body doesn't use the insulin and cannot keep your blood sugar level at normal levels. So, sometimes when you check your blood sugar level, it's maybe 105, 110, and so on. So you want to keep your blood sugar level at normal levels, and that's what we want persons to do. So type 2 diabetes is when the body doesn't use the insulin well, and that's what happens to you.
Okay.
And type 1 diabetes now is when your body attacks itself, like it makes the mistake thinking that it stops making the insulin.
Oh.
So therefore, and these are normally in children, teens, and so on.
So it stops making the insulin so that okay.
It doesn't necessarily stop making the insulin, but the body does not recognize it.
Oh.
So that's what really happens. And what happens, it's normally among children and teens and young adults. Now, when you have type 1 diabetes, you cannot, there is no prevention there. So you have to be on insulin
For the rest of your life.
for the rest of your life.
Is that the one where you take the insulin daily?
Some adults do take insulin daily with type 2 diabetes, but with the children and young teens, when you have type 1, then you have to take it daily. It all depends.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's not something we want our children to, to develop at such an early age. And that's a chronic, and let me just say, diabetes is a chronic disease. Many times it's because of our lifestyle, what we eat, what we drink, and so on. And that's how it comes about. Our stress level, we don't exercise. I mean, we have it in our family and then we develop it and these kind of things. But if you know you're at a young age and you have diabetes in your family, you need to start eating right.
Yes.
You have to ensure that you eat your fruits and vegetables daily. You have to ensure that you exercise. And if you overweight, we'll talk about that later. You need to control
Yes.
your weight. And that's a lot of us, I mean, I'm included, a lot of us do. I mean, we try our best to keep our weight down, but it's not an easy thing. So you have to be really, really disciplined and committed to keep your weight
Yeah, but
down.
especially with a lot of women, there are a lot of factors that has to be considered when talking about the weight. So that's yeah. Sometimes it's not that easy for a woman to manage her weight. I can say differently for a man, but I guess for women,
A lot of men too. I you see the men with their big belly,
yeah. Well,
and
with
then they
men,
look plump.
with men, they can easily, change their diet, start exercising, and then probably the weight would go down. But what I'm saying, there are a lot of women that there are other factors that affect their weight.
Oh yeah,
So
health
it's
issues
yeah, so
too.
that it is not that easy for them.
No, it's not that easy. I can tell you it's not easy at all. And especially if you have an health issue that is contributing to the
Hmm.
weight problem. So that's one of the things a lot of women face. And just a few months ago, we had the topic on PCOS.
Yes,
And
that
that's
is
one of
one.
the things, it makes it so difficult for women to control their weight. Yeah. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't continue exercising and
Exercise it,
eating
yes.
and use PCOS as
An
an
excuse.
excuse. So, I mean, the risk factors, there are many risk factors for diabetes. Diabetes 1, the type 1 is your family history. If you have a parent, a brother or sister with type 1 diabetes, um, again, you can get type 1 diabetes at any age, but it usually develops in children, teens, and young adults. So you have to
Yeah.
be mindful of that. And type 2 diabetes, one of the risk factors is if you're already pre-diabetes. So with pre-diabetes, if you realizing your blood sugar level is high
Hmm.
and you're on the borderline, so it predisposes you to have type
To
2
have, oh,
diabetes.
okay.
And if you are overweight, like we were saying before, age 45 years and older, thank God I don't reach in that category yet. If you have a parent, brother, sister with type 2 diabetes, remember I said it can be
Yeah, so a
hereditary
lot
and
of
so on.
persons would say it runs in the family.
Yes. And if you don't exercise like you should, so less physical activity can be one of the risk factors for type 2 diabetes. Now, the thing about pre-diabetes is a lot of people when they're younger, when they test, they
Hmm.
really tell them, you know, your blood sugar level is high. You need to start changing your lifestyle. And when you
Pre-diabetes.
yes, it can be reversed because there
Okay.
are many things you can do. If you overweight, you need to maintain a healthy weight.
Okay.
Um, if um, you need to exercise, you need to eat. So eat right. And a lot of us, we have a nutritionist or a field nutrition officer at our wellness centers and our hospital. You could always come and speak to them and let them guide you accordingly. And that's one of the things persons need to understand.
Okay.
Um, Many times we have the service available and people don't take advantage of the
Yeah.
service.
Or probably what you can do now is to give them probably just a few things that they should avoid eating or consuming.
Well, eat right. You have to make sure half of your plates are green, colorful, your vegetables. You
Mm.
eat your proteins, 1/4 plate proteins, 1/4 plate carbohydrates. Now, that is the ideal, but sometimes it's not always practical for all of us.
Exactly.
And let me just say this, it's true that we want to eat right, but we have to be disciplined because a lot of us, if we put the salad, we want to make sure the salad have dressing on it, and sometimes the dressing has a lot of fats and other things that might be in
Yes.
it. For example, if we're eating our proteins and so on. A lot of people like a lot of salaison.
Yes.
They want to see a big piece of fish,
Especially the men.
especially the men. That
Yes.
is true. And you'll be surprised, a lot of women are just the same too.
Mm.
And if you eat your food, you say, oh, I don't have enough food, you want more food, that will not fill my belly, I'll be hungry in 5 minutes' time, and all of these things. But the nutritionist can guide you accordingly, and that will help you maintain a healthy weight together with
Mhm.
exercise. Now, exercising doesn't mean you have to go to the gym. It doesn't mean you have to be, part of a vigorous
Mhm.
exercise regime, but doing simple things around the home, walking
Yeah.
around the house, going swimming. We have so many beaches in St.
Yeah.
Lucia.
And I think they say like just like walking 40 minutes a day is sufficient
Yes,
enough.
that works
Yeah.
wonders. And people use all kinds of excuses. Oh, it has been raining early morning these days. It gets dark very fast.
Yeah. So what I used to do, I've not been doing it, but I used to walk every morning, and if I don't
Mm-hmm.
do it in the morning, on the afternoon I would do it, and it's
You're
just
doing
like nothing vigorous. It's just 30 minutes. You just do a quick walking, and that helps, and that makes you feel so much better
that is so
during the day,
true.
especially when you do it in the morning or when you do it in the night. You sleep so well, so all that it contributes to a better health.
That's true because I used to go to the gym, and let me tell you, when I go to the gym, such a
Hmm.
big difference.
You
I
feel
sleep
so.
better and I feel I could walk, but now for me to walk few minutes, I'm crying. I can hardly breathe. That's to show you it went, I mean, it did wonders, but then apparently I stopped. So therefore,
Ironically, like when I walk, I get energized. But when I don't, I like all through the day, like it's just fatigue. It just
yes, that
like
is
all through the day,
true.
like you just feel so lazy. But when you walk in the morning, like it gives you that boost of energy. So it helps,
It helps
and it
because
improves your health, your mood, and everything. So.
everything else. So and the moment I stop the gym, it's like I always need a caffeine rush because
Hmm.
to keep me up
Yes,
because I'm always so tired.
because you need.
And yeah, so I mean the exercise is very, very good. And you have to one of the things we normally talk about, I mean we talk about all the things that we have to do, but then you have to reduce your stress level. You have to remain happy. You
Hmm.
cannot be happy all the time, but a happy feeling
Hmm.
goes a long way.
That is true.
You
That is true.
understand?
Yes.
And a lot of people don't understand that. Like they want to carry the whole world on their shoulders, but it's after you die, people continue living
Exactly.
their life.
Well, for me, it comes back to the walking because I was not walking because I wanted to stay fit. I was walking because of stress, and it
Mm-hmm.
really helped. So, it all goes back to walking, just a bit of exercise every day that helps a lot. And stress is one of the main contributors to most of our health problems.
That is
Yeah,
true.
stress is probably it's probably one of the most significant thing when it comes to your health.
Your mental, your
Hmm.
physical, your emotional health.
Because
It,
if your mind is if your mind is sick, then your body will be sick automatically. So
that is
that's where
true.
it happens.
That is so true. And by walking, it really improves your blood pressure too. And let me tell you, a lot of people suffer with high blood pressure.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that really, really helps. And it helps control your blood sugar level. So make it a New Year's resolution. I know it's just before Christmas. I
Yes.
can guarantee you, just before Christmas, a lot of people are thinking of what they're going to buy, what meats and eats. So for the new year, start it and
Hmm.
then start
Yes.
exercising.
You can spoil yourself for Christmas, and then probably by for sure New Year's that you have to change your lifestyle.
Yeah. And like we were saying, it's exercising but also maintaining a healthy weight. And one of the things when you go to our field nutrition officer is that you'll check your BMI, your body mass index, and it will give you a level where you are, if you are the correct weight, if you overweight, and if you obese. And that's one of the things that you really need to be mindful of. A lot of people like to say I'm big bone.
And yeah, you gotta be big bone because if you look at a skeleton, all of them are the same size, so you cannot be big bone. So
Say you come from a family, I mean, of big people, obese people, overweight people, because most times you eat the same things, you drink the same
hmm
things,
and that's yeah, that
and
is
so
true. That
on,
is true. That
and
is
so
true.
on. And they say, "Oh, I don't even have breakfast," but you eat so much in between.
Yes.
Yeah. So you check your BMI and it will tell you at what level you at, and also your waist circumference. And I think Fawn and I spoke about that many
hmm
times. The size of your waist. I mean, it goes a long way, and people don't understand that. And for women, I think it's not more than 45 inches, and men not more than 40 inches,
The size of your
your
waist.
waist circumference. So if you take a tape
hmm
and then you measure, a woman has to be 35 and less, and a man has to be 40.
Oh.
So your stomach has to be,
Okay.
and some of us, what do we say? We women that, we already have how many kids and our belly never got
Yes.
down, and so on and so on. But if you exercise and you've been doing
hmm
well and you do all your abs and you do everything, eventually it will
It
go
will.
down. um you know and I can relate to that because a lot of us women, we suffer with our stomach, and let me tell you, it is I would say it plays on our psyche many times,
hmm
and a lot of us just tend to ignore it, like they just accept what it is, but it's not the best health wise,
hmm
and we shouldn't be looking for excuses. We've had how many kids with this, with that. Mm-mm. It's supposed to go down through correct exercise and so on. So there is no excuse, and if you eat well, that means it doesn't expand.
Yeah,
So you,
you find what most women do, after they've had a child, like they focus all their energy on that child. So,
I tell
yeah,
you,
so they don't take time for themselves. So, and by the time you check yourself, they realize, oh, look at my belly, and then I'm overweight. Now that starts to play in their mind, so that leads them to depression and to the point where they
yeah,
just don't care anymore.
it lowers your self-esteem too,
To
because
the
I can tell you, after I gave birth to my daughter, when I tried a dress, I mean, coming from, I mean, a young age where, I mean, I was, you know, in
hmm
shape, flat stomach, perky breast, large hips.
hmm
And after I gave birth to my daughter, my stomach, thing, my breast, oh my goodness. So,
yeah,
when I tried on the first dress, I can tell you, I had to hold it together because I was
yeah,
crying,
wow.
because, everything changed. For
Like,
some women, they are
yeah.
lucky, but for others, it's not
Yeah, it's like you're a whole new person. You're a whole
yes.
different person. You have to try to recognize yourself again
So
because
very
everything is
much so.
different. Everything is different.
And that can really put on stress on you, and on even the relationship you into.
Oh yes,
Yeah. So
yes,
you have to understand these things. So many things are interrelated, even if we're speaking about
yes.
diabetes.
Yeah, it goes
And
back to diabetes because the stress of it, it leads you to that diabetes, and also you find that a lot of people, when they are stressed, they look for comfort food, and usually it's that comfort food that leads us to back to that diabetes. You want
very
to you
much
want to eat
so.
chocolates, you want to drink Sprite all the time, you want to have pizza all the time, like
A
you're
lot
not in the
of
mood to cook something properly for yourself. You want to have pasta and every day, like those
everything.
fast food, so it leads you back to diabetes.
Very much so, Romanus. And I tend to agree with you. Um, I tend to agree with you in that light, because many times I mean, these things happen and we don't realize that these are the effects on our body, because it's our everyday life. Our everyday life that, that are being affected and so on. Um, So we want to talk about the symptoms of diabetes, the signs and symptoms of diabetes. And some of the signs and symptoms of diabetes is not only for diabetes, but it can be for other chronic illnesses too. But normally, when you see these signs, you really need to seek medical attention, like frequent urination, like every time you want to pee,
Mm.
or you, I mean, increasing first, you always thirsty all night long, you getting up to drink water all during the day. Now, somebody might say, I'm drinking so much
Mhm.
water that I have to go and pee all the
Yes.
time.
Mm.
But, I mean, these are signs why all of a sudden you always thirsty. And people tend to gravitate, oh, it's so hot these days, it's
Mhm.
humid. No. And the fatigue, that tiredness, you
Mhm.
always tired, you always fatigue, you just lose a lot of weight. And we see
Okay.
it in our community. All of a sudden, somebody lose a lot of weight.
Mhm.
And it's just a sudden weight loss, and you get cuts or wounds that does not heal fast. It takes time to heal, and a lot of people have that.
Yes.
I mean, they get a cut and they don't seek medical attention right away.
Mhm.
So by the time they do, they're thinking because they neglect the wound or the cut, that is why it's taking so long to heal. But sometimes they are actually diabetic. That is why the wound or the cut is not
Not
healing
healing.
at
Oh
all.
wow. Okay.
A lot of people get blurred vision, and that is why one of the things you have to do is to make sure you go to the eye specialist if you diagnose with diabetes. And these are things you we'll get to that later, and
Mhm.
why it's important that you have to do these things.
Okay.
And the blood vision, a lot of people see that, oh, that, and you see people, I mean, they might not be diabetic, but they're squinting
Yes.
and they refuse to go and see the eye specialist, even if they're not diabetic. I mean, once you start seeing all these signs, you need to seek medical attention. It might not be
Yeah, it
diabetes,
might be something else, but it's still
but
your health that you have to
it
check on.
is, yeah, you have to.
Mhm.
And now let me tell you, once you diagnose, they tell you, okay, you have diabetes and so on. A lot of people like to just rush and take all kinds of bush medicine to bring it down.
So that brings me to my question. Can it be reversed? I know you said from the point of pre-diabetes
It
that
can
you
be
it can
reversed.
be reversed, but if you've reached that point where you already have the
Type 2.
diabetes,
Yes. You can control it,
but not get rid of it completely.
not get rid of it completely. A lot of people, I can tell you, they're on strict diet, they exercise, the blood sugar level tend to be normal for a
Mhm.
long time, but after a while,
It's
they have
still
to go on
the insulin.
the diabetic medication,
Okay.
not necessarily the insulin.
Oh,
They'll
there.
go,
Okay.
yeah. So, a lot of people, they control it well. So for now, there is no need for them to be on the medication. But after a while, as you get older,
You have to.
then most probably you might need to be on
So
it.
if you've been diagnosed, that, and you're controlling it well, but that still means that you have to be constantly checking.
Constantly checking, or every day you still have to be checking.
Mm.
And let me tell you, for you to be diagnosed with diabetes and for you to have it under control, that means you have to be doing a lot of things right. You have to
Wow.
be sleeping well. That means you have um, low stress level. That means you eating right for
Wow.
a fact. You drinking a lot of water
Mm.
and so on, and you exercising. Let me tell you, if you don't do everything
Correctly.
correctly,
It is not
then
managed properly.
I can tell you because I've had experience. I have a friend of mine. He was diagnosed with diabetes, and he changed his entire diet around, and he drinks a lot of water. He exercises, and there was no need for
Hmm.
him to be on any tabs or anything. But now that he's getting older,
Mm. The
it's not being
metabolism,
controlled. Yeah.
yes, yes.
And he tells you the moment he stops exercising and so on, like for a week or so,
Then
one
it's
time,
back. Yeah.
yes. So these are things you have to be mindful of. And people tend to say, oh, mwen halas mwen he se bagay sa la. Ma bef pou mwen he wazye kon. You know, people say all kinds of things.
Yes,
You hear
yes.
them, and you hear the diabetic say, oh, ti chon mwen he, mwen boy glow day.
Day.
All of these things are very, very poor practices. Now, with all these signs and symptoms, you need to seek medical attention. And after you've been diagnosed with diabetes, you still have to continue eating right and take your prescribed medication the way it is prescribed. And if in the event that something is not right with the medication they give you, speak to the pharmacist or go back to the doctor. Because there are other complications of diabetes like heart disease, stroke, amputation, and we see the amputees all the time.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so on. You have a lot of foot problems, poor circulation, sores, and all of these issues. We spoke about the vision loss, the blindness, especially if you develop glaucoma and so on, problems with your kidneys, and then you develop sexual problems.
So,
and that's one of the things
men,
that men.
yes, impotence.
Well, not necessarily impotence right away.
Well, you need to scare them, so you need to say it.
And so that's one of the things you have to be mindful of. So sometimes you get problems like getting an erection or keeping an erection. And a lot of men, let me tell you something. If you see you have that problem and you have signs and symptoms of diabetes, please, please seek medical attention, because you know what? It frustrates a lot of men. It has an effect on the relationship at home, because a lot of men tend to blame the women and thinking that they're no longer attracted to the women.
So it
But-
becomes a domino effect where you
Yeah.
feel okay and then you go.
So all the time is you don't have the problem, my brother. So, and the problem is that you don't want to go everywhere thinking is the one in the house that have the problem, or the main girlfriend has the problem. Go everywhere else, and next thing everybody put your business out.
Yes.
So I mean, keep it at a particular level and try to seek medical attention. And that brings us to our next point: diabetes and men, because a lot of men they see the signs of diabetes and they refuse to seek medical attention.
Yeah,
like I said,
men-
they take all bush medicine and they don't want to go to the
Yeah,
doctor.
men don't go to doctor like that. Like it is something that needs to be worked on.
So that's something that, although this year we've had men's health clinic in different communities, and the turnout was high, like
Oh, wow.
70, 80, you know, the turnouts
But
were
are
really,
these-
really high.
Are these older men or are these some middle age?
Older men, younger men, middle-aged men.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, they came
that's good.
out. They
Wow.
really, really came out. More of the older men, I would say, and so on. But middle-aged men do came,
They did.
and,
Okay. Oh,
and it was very, very good, and they felt it was a very good thing.
okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, have no fear. There are services available within our wellness centers, our men's health fairs. So take advantage of that situation. And they do provide a number of services, lab services, I mean, doctor services, medical service consultation, mental health counseling. You know, during that time, they provide a lot of services that is very important. So, the reason why I chose diabetes and men, because you mostly find women at the diabetic clinics more than men.
Okay.
And one of the things that
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, but based on the statistics and the numbers, which one is more prone to diabetes? Is it men or women?
well, I wouldn't say women get diabetes more than men. It's like the thing about it, since more women come to our clinic,
Yeah, you'd find that those numbers are higher.
those numbers are
Recorded
higher.
numbers. Okay.
But that doesn't mean the men are not diabetic. They just
Yes, they
don't come
just
out.
so we don't have those
And
numbers.
sometimes they're diabetic at a particular age, and when they reach maybe 10 or 10 years after, that's the time you really see them come out.
Mm.
And even then, by the time you detect them, they'll say, "Oh, they're not coming to the clinic again." So so that's one of the things that we have to be mindful of. So more women are at our clinics than men, and we're asking the men to come in, especially our diabetic and hypertensive clinics. Come and check your pressure and come and test your blood sugar, and let the nurse guide you and direct you based on whatever the test results. And that is very important. And men always find reasons why they cannot be at the clinic at that particular time. But let me tell you, no matter what time you come to the clinics and the nurses are not busy, they are happy to have you. It's like you
Mhm.
find um, one coin in an entire desert.
Oh
So it's like
wow.
they're so happy that they cannot
That.
wait to serve you.
Oh
You
wow.
know? So they're happy as long as it's not interfering with a
Mhm.
clinic, they'll be happy to serve you. Trust me on that one. I know that because I see the reaction on the nurses when the men come to our activities. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, but we always see the women. So now that
Yes.
two men, it's just two of them.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, we have two men.
Yes. A breath of fresh air.
Very much so. So, I mean, the other thing about men, they're likely to get type 2 diabetes. And one of the things is men store a lot of fat in their bodies, and that's
Mhm.
one of their risk factors. So they always have big belly. And the big belly doesn't mean you have
Uh-huh.
diabetes, but
Yes.
you store a lot of fat in your
Uh-huh.
belly. And both men and women are at great risk of the heart disease, the stroke, the vision loss, the kidney failure, the amputation of the toe and the foot or the leg. But one of the things that really brings men to reality is when it hits directly underneath the belly. So the moment they
that is
cannot get it up,
that is when you see them.
that is when you really feel the heat, the erectile dysfunction.
Mm.
Once you see it hit them underneath their belly, or any chronic disease, or any disease, or anything of that sort, once it hit them underneath their belly, all hell break loose. Now they will go to herbalists, you name it,
They will.
doctor, everything. Even if they tell them that is the issue, they're still not satisfied. They're going to
Mhm.
5, 6 different orders, you know.
But can that be reversed, to a point where a man has gotten to the point of ED? Can it be reversed
It all
with
depends.
proper management, I guess?
It all depends. We're talking about diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, after a while, nothing will help it. Because you don't do what you're supposed to
Oh, okay,
do.
okay.
You understand? Eating right, exercising, and doing everything, it prolongs the
Mm-hmm.
process a bit. But if you, and another thing is that some men do smoke and drink heavily.
Yeah, because we've
So,
been speaking for a while now, and you've not mentioned alcohol, and I know it is one of the main contributors as well, especially in
mhm,
men.
mhm.
Alcohol is a big factor.
Alcohol is, and let me tell you, don't get me wrong, I do drink. I do love, my whiskey and so on. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, it's how you drink. And I think last year or year before, Fawn and I had that topic on alcoholism and
Mm-hmm.
alcohol. And you were saying that the drink you take every day when you come from work,
Mm-hmm.
studies have shown that it can lead to you being an alcoholic.
Oh.
Because, like, when you come from work, you stress out, you drink a glass of wine. it becomes part of you after a
Hmm.
while. Every time you come from work, you feel you need to drink a
Yeah,
glass
and
of
that is
wine.
how you build an addiction to something. So
Very much
yeah.
so. Or a lot of people into binge drinking, they don't drink for the entire week. But on the weekend, Friday, Saturday,
Oh,
Sunday,
let's go. So
let's go. You know? So all of that put
hmm,
additional stress on your kidneys and
yes.
everything else. And we have to be so mindful of that. And some of us do smoke or we stay around
Hmm.
smokers. So all of these factors can really cause, I mean, we don't see because I mean it's like our everyday life. It's part of our culture. Some of us, we were born and raised like
Hmm.
into that kind of culture, and a lot of us don't go out of it. So, I mean, imagine you have been doing that from, let's say, in your early 20s, and you're in your
Hmm.
50s, you
You're
still do the
still
same
doing it,
thing.
yeah.
So you can imagine the effect it have on your
Hmm.
body. So I mean, I mean, erectile dysfunction is something. It really increases being diabetic. Really
Hmm.
increases your chance of getting ED, and it you develop less interest in sex too. Um, because since you cannot really keep it up, you not even want to go there because I
Hmm.
mean you know you have the problem already.
Yeah,
Although sometimes psychologically you really feel I mean you
is
can't
nothing.
do it, but
Yeah.
honestly it's just not working out for
Hmm.
you. And so that is one of the problems. That is why I brought up um
Diabetes.
ED
Hmm.
when it comes to diabetes with
With
men,
men.
because I know that will be the trigger. If you know
Yes.
that that cannot get up and you've seen the signs that you're diabetic, then you definitely seek medical attention. And that's not only the cause of ED. If you have prostate cancer, you know, or you don't sleep properly, you have
Hmm.
a sleeping disorder, all of these things can cause
Answer.
ED.
Okay.
And it's not only diabetes, but let me tell you, for now, we know a lot of people are diabetic and so on. And if you're taking any medication and you realize one of the side effects is that you need to speak to your doctor,
Because
because a
yeah,
lot of
that
people
is.
take some medication and that's I mean that's one
Happen
of the side effects. A lot of men don't take their high blood pressure medication
because of that.
because of that.
Okay.
Garçon, ça fait moins
So.
fouette. But I mean, and that's the reality.
Hmm.
So they
Because.
don't take the blood pressure medication
Hmm.
because they know they cannot. It
Yeah.
prevents them from getting an
And
erection.
there's alternative, there's different medication that the doctor can prescribe.
Yes, to help
If one
you.
is not working out, then the doctor can prescribe something else.
Yeah, and let me tell you, one of the things is if you're suffering from ED, don't go and do cocktails. Mix that with energy drinks and all. A lot of
Uh,
people have suffered with heart attacks and so on because of
because of
this.
that.
Yeah. So I mean, come on.
Yeah, and you develop a dependency on that. So at some
Yeah.
point, you would always need it.
You
So
always need it.
yeah.
And that's what you need to realize. If you have that problem, let the doctor guide you along with a specialist and let them guide you to help you with the situation. And so don't go taking things into your own hands or
Hmm.
listening to friends and family advice, especially other men sometimes. They can tell you try so many things and you're doing more harm than good to
Hmm.
yourself. You
That is true.
understand?
That is true.
Yeah. So having said that, don't forget Romanus. Once you see underneath the belly is being affected,
That is when you see the man.
that's it.
Yes, let's go to the doctor now.
So let's go to the doctor. They're still afraid. So if you're diabetic, every day you need to check your blood sugar. I mean, a lot of people have their own kits at home
Okay.
and then they
Do you
test
still
it.
have to prick yourself? Because I think there was a different way that is it is being done now. I think there was
Mhm.
one point where you have to prick yourself every day. Is that still the
I saw a new thing on the market, but to me, I didn't read how effective it was,
no, okay?
and so on. You have to check your foot, and foot care is very, very important.
Hmm.
And there are the podiatrists at our wellness centers. Find out what days they're coming in, and so on. Because let me tell you, when you diagnose with diabetes, do not walk barefooted anywhere, not even in the house, in the bedroom, any single place in the
Oh,
house. You must always have your shoes on, and proper shoes, proper socks, and so on. So if you're diagnosed and you're diabetic, you need to consult your nurse and let them guide you on the type of socks, the type of shoes, and so on you're supposed to wear, or your podiatrist. They will refer you to the podiatrist.
and tell them why.
Why? Reason being, it's, remember we said one of the issues is that wounds and cuts don't heal fast. When it doesn't heal fast, a lot of persons lose their toe, I mean, and their foot or their leg. So they cut it out, amputation. You lose all sensation in the feet or the leg, and so on. You start having poor circulation. So all of these things you have to be mindful of, because a lot of people things prick them and they don't feel it
They
at
don't
all.
feel it, yeah, because
So
of that.
you have to make sure you wear your shoes and check your feet. Okay? Um you have to ensure that you take your medication, your medicine, as prescribed. Don't skip a day. I remember a day I was at St. Jude's, and then I was at St. Jude's, and a lady didn't take a pressure medication because it was her birthday and she wanted to drink.
That she
And
did.
she reached right. She arrived at St. Jude's in no time.
Wow.
So you understand? I mean, come on. It's not as if you have not drink alcohol all your life, not because
Yeah.
it's your birthday for you to
So
stop the medication and then say okay. But if you choose to, speak to the doctor and let the doctor guide you.
Okay.
You understand?
So it is so bad. Like if you miss one day, then
It all depends. Some persons, because of the dosage of medication, I mean, they start at a low dosage, and over time, because of non-compliance and non-adherence, they have increased the dosage on them.
oh,
So these things happen. And physical activity, like we said, every day you need to exercise and you need to eat healthy. Now, with diabetes, let me just say every first day there is the dental clinic for cleaning, and they're targeting diabetics and smokers. So you can always make an appointment if you're diabetic or a smoker, especially on the first day. Yasmin is there. These are her target groups. You need to check your teeth and clean your teeth at least twice for the year, and once a year just to do a full examination. You need to do that and let your dentist know that you're diabetic, and you have to continue visiting the doctor. People don't people don't do that, but most times when you're diabetic, they ask you to come every 3 months, or it all depends on what is happening to you. So stick to your doctor's appointment and make sure that you do what you're supposed to do.
all right. And more annual checkups for especially for men and women as well. You know, annual checkups. That is important.
I find the men are really coming out, especially in our community. Even we had breast examination at Fonje Jacques, that was on Monday. And we had, I think, two men, yeah, two
All
or
right.
one, yeah. They came and to check their breasts.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it was really really good. I think they slowly
I think
coming
when
out.
when you look at the number of persons that are dying, like you don't have a choice, but to check on yourself.
Let me tell you, I've never. Honestly, it's like so many people dying, and so many
Yeah,
younger people
younger people.
are dying now with all kinds of cancers, all kinds of, So now people are more aware and they tend to seek medical attention. Another thing is, if you have symptoms of any disease whatsoever, and sometimes you're not comfortable in your own community, or I mean, go out there.
Go
There are
out.
other services available in other communities, private doctors, private physicians. You can always, I mean, go to a private physician,
Yeah,
because a lot of people
yeah.
feel they're not comfortable especially in their own
Yeah,
community.
yeah.
Go
I
out
wouldn't
there.
honestly. I wouldn't be, especially to the point where if it's something below
Yeah,
the belly, like you say.
below
Like
the belly. Oh my
I
God.
wouldn't want to come to Sufra. Every time I'm
Why?
walking, the nurse watching him like, hey,
That doesn't
look
even
what.
remember you. And the other thing is, sometimes you say you don't want to come to your community,
There's too
but
many
a
people
lot
I know. I have friends that work there. Too many people know
but
Rome.
sometimes Romanas, they know your family history.
So they probably already know.
No, 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 no. And they're better able to
Oh,
guide
okay.
you.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
It's
sense.
not because of
Yes.
anything. So they might know, for example, on your auntie side, on
Mm.
your mother side,
Oh.
your father side, and things that you might not know about them. And
Oh.
when you come to them, they might pick
They
up
might.
something that you were not even
Oh,
aware.
wait. Oh.
So sometimes it's not always, if you're not comfortable with our community services,
Mhm.
but sometimes it's so important because they are the ones that deals with everybody in
Yeah.
the community, and they know your family history even better than you
Yeah.
sometimes,
And I
and
think
they're able to
yeah.
guide you.
I once spoke to a community nurse, and she was saying her job is to she has to know everyone and who they interact with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Very much
yeah.
so.
So so automatically, if Romanus, and Romanus probably has something, and then Romanus is interfering with somebody else, then
Mm-hmm.
automatically she would know. I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
okay,
of course she
sounds
would,
interesting. Yes,
especially with STIs
yes. So they
and
would
so
know.
on. So they know what to expect, what not to
Hmm.
expect, and how to target these people, and to change behaviors so that other people will not
Other
get
people.
affected. You understand?
Hmm.
All right.
All right, but our time is up. 5 minutes after 11. A very informative discussion. My take from that. Check yourself, exercise regularly, and manage your diet, and to ensure that you manage diabetes to prevent yourself from getting diabetes. So, thank you, Miss Wilson.
Before you go, I
Until
have one announcement I
yes,
forgot.
go ahead.
On Sunday at Sugar Plum Disco,
Uh-huh.
the Magouge, I think Magouge and Delse Health Center is having an activity for breast cancer awareness. Breast cancer was celebrated last month, but they want to continue. So come in at Sugar Plum Disco. You can always call the wellness centers to find out the time. I forgot to ask nurse the time. Um, Come in your numbers. I mean, they will be doing the examination. They'll be teaching you how to do the self examination. They'll be educating you. So make some time to come out and hear and learn about breast cancer. And that is one of the most common things we have on island, especially among our women. So we're encouraging women. Early detection is key.
Is key.
All right. So Sugar Plum this Sunday, breast cancer
Cancer
screening.
screening.
So
Mhm.
come out, all ladies. All right.
Okay, thank you, and also thank you guys online that was viewing us on Facebook. Thank you so much for tuning in, and
Really, I
thank you.
forgot to tell them
Yes,
thank you.
thank you, Radio Land as well. So thank you, Miss Wilson. Until next time,
Thank you, Romanas. It was a pleasure having you.
definitely.
All right.